Hello kindergarten, so today we are going to make this painting of some birch trees with some fall colored leaves. And our learning objective is that we can identify uses of art within one's personal environment. And we've talked about what water can be, how it can be ice, and it can be snow and rain, and how water affects our environment, our natural environment. And we talked about how water can help trees grow. So we're going to make a picture about a natural environment of trees based on how water helps our trees grow. So you're going to start with a square piece of paper and then a skinny rectangle piece of paper. You're going to need to write your name on both. And the day you have art. Day A, day B, day C. So you have to write your name twice. And you're going to set your rectangle aside for now. And we're going to paint a background color. So on my painting of my birch trees, I used orange and red. You can use whatever two colors that you want for your background, and we're going to use temper cakes. I chose this tray purposefully so that you could see if you get a messy tray. I'm going to show you how you clean it out. So you're going to take a paintbrush, dip it in the water, swirl it around real quick, just once or twice, rinse it out, swirl it around again once or twice. You can see that yellow starting to clear up already. So once or twice, swirl around, rinse your paintbrush off. So by getting clean water on my paintbrush and then swirling it around, it takes that dirt off there. Now my red is messy too, so I'm going to clean that out. So if you have a messy tray and there's a color that you want that's really messy, that's how you clean it off. So since I cleaned off yellow, I'm going to use yellow for my background. I want you to pick two colors. I'm going to start with yellow. Now, temper cakes, if you use a lot of water, it'll look like watercolor. But if you swirl your paintbrush around a lot, around and around and around and around, over and over again, you can get a dark, heavy color. And I want you to paint your whole paper. Don't leave any white paper showing. So fill it in. So I'm going to fill this in with yellow and red. So I'm going to paint my yellow first, paint some spots, and leave some white space for my red. So now I'm going to rinse my paintbrush off. Get some red on my paintbrush, swirl it around, and I'm going to paint in the white areas. Whoops, I dripped a little. I'm going to paint in the white areas. And notice how I'm painting side to side, horizontally. That looks the most natural. If I paint zigzag and swirly, it doesn't look as natural. So I'm trying to make my painting look natural, like the natural environment that we're painting of the birch trees. And I'm doing a heavy color with lots of paint and a little bit of water. Alright, so there is my background. So this is finished because the whole entire thing is painted. So you're going to pick this up with two hands and you're going to put this on the drying rack, or bring it to me to put on the drying rack. Before you start your next paper, you need to get a paper towel, a dry paper towel, and you need to dry off your placemat. So you're not actually cleaning the placemat off, you're just drying it off to get this wet paint off there so that this paint doesn't get on your rectangle. Now don't recycle this just yet because you're going to need it one more time. So you're going to take your rectangle piece of paper, you're going to rinse out your paintbrush really good, and then you're going to swirl around on the black paint. And I want a nice heavy black color, so you need to swirl around a lot. If you swirl around a little bit, it's going to look gray. So swirl around. And then instead of painting the wide ways with our paintbrush this way, I'm going to turn my paintbrush and I'm going to paint 6 vertical lines on my long paper. So I'm keeping my paintbrush up on its tiptoes. If I press down on my paintbrush, I'll get this fat line, and I want a skinny line. So I'm going to paint 6 lines, and I'm going to paint them in pairs. This will be one tree. Now I'll swirl around, and then I'll paint 2 more for a second tree. And you can have some trees that are skinny or wavy. You can have some trees that are wider. And this will be my third tree. So you're painting 6 lines across your paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Now you're done with this paintbrush. So you're going to put the paintbrush in the bowl of water, and then you're going to get a little cup of black paint, and you're going to get a piece of cardboard scrap. There's a long side and a skinny side. The long side is the side you hold on to. The skinny side is the side you dip in the paint. And you're not dipping the cardboard all the way down to the bottom of the cup. You're just dipping a small amount of the cardboard. So you can see the skinny amount of paint that I have on there. And then you're going to place this on the side of one of your black lines. You're going to set it right there on the side of your line, and you're going to pull towards the other line. And now you can do it the other way. And you want to get these smeary, zigzaggy lines when you do this, because helps make it look like a birch tree. When birch trees grow, they get these black spots on them as they grow, and they're white with black spots. So we're adding the black spots with this cardboard. And sometimes your black line can go all the way across, like it does here and here, or it can stop. It doesn't have to go all the way. And I've only dipped once for this tree, once for this tree, and a third time for this last tree. And leave some white space. Don't put black right next to black all the way down the tree. Okay, so that's good enough. I have some white spaces and then the black smear. This cardboard will go in the recycle bin, and this painting will now go on the drying rack. And then you're going to get that paper towel you used from earlier that I said don't recycle, and you're going to wipe up any black paint you have on your placemat. Dry this placemat off with a dry paper towel, and then put this placemat back over with the rest of the placemats. Okay, on the next day you're going to get back your painted paper and your birch trees, all dry. And you're going to cut your birch trees out. You're going to cut right next to the black line. You're going to cut on the outside of the black line and cut the background off. So there's one side of the tree and here's the other. So this is my tree with the black smudges. This is scrap. Now I'm going to cut my next tree. This doesn't have any black smudges, so that's scrap. And this is my second tree with the black smudges. And now I have to finish my third tree. So this gets cut off and recycled, and then I need to do that same thing on the other side. Okay, so here are my 3 birch trees, and I want you to do a frame of glue. Don't just put a line of glue down the middle. Flip it over and put a frame of glue. So go across the top, all the way down one side, across the bottom, back up to the other side. And then you're going to line up the bottom straight edge with the bottom straight edge of your painted paper. Push down, and then that will make the top line up. If you line up the bottom edge or you line up the top edge, when you press down, the rest of the tree will line up with your paper exactly. I don't want these trees to be hanging off either side of your paper. So now I'm going to do another frame of glue across the bottom, up, across the top, and back down. Line up the bottom, press down, therefore it lines up the top. Across the bottom, up, across the top, back down. Line up the bottom and press down. Now these aren't equally spaced out. I don't have the one right in the middle and then 2 on each side. These 2 are kind of over close, and that's okay. Trees don't grow exactly spaced out. So now you're going to add some tree branches. So you're going to get the little cup of black paint again in a small paintbrush. You're going to dip the paintbrush into the paint. And I did not get paint all the way up the green bristles and touch the gold handle. I just got a little bit of black paint, and then I'm going to add some diagonal lines. And the diagonal lines can be straight like this, or they can be wavy. And I don't start in the middle of the tree. I start across the edge of the tree, the side of the tree, and I add a branch. Little branches off your little branches. So I added a little branch off that branch. I can add a little branch off this branch. They're diagonal, so they're growing up towards the sun. That's how trees grow, up and towards the sun. Okay, so that's enough branches. I don't have to put 100 branches on there. So this paintbrush will go in the sink for me to rinse out later, and your paint cup will go back up over on the counter. You're going to set this aside. We might actually put this on the drying rack and let the paint dry. All right, and so the last step is to stamp some leaf shapes. And so you're going to get these sponges, and you'll have 4 colors. And you're going to take the sponge and dip it in the paint and look at it and make sure you have paint at all ends. And you can see here I don't have any paint on this end, so I'm going to get some paint on there. Now you don't want too much paint, so I'm just going to pull it kind of across the edge of the plate right there. So I have a nice even coating, and you're just going to stamp a few of these leaves, and you want to push down and get the leaf shape. And they're going to overlap the trees. And I'm trying to make the point of the leaf touch one of these small branches. So I want a variety of colors. So when I go to my next color, if I stamp on top of the green, these 2 colors are going to mix. And then when I go to put it back in the red, then I've messed up the red for everybody else. So I need to make sure that when I stamp a new color, that I don't stamp it touching another wet leaf. So please be careful and thoughtful of your classmates, and make sure that you don't have the paints touching and mixing. So the red's kind of hard, is a little hard to see because I have a red background, so you want to think about that too. So if you don't want to use all 4 colors, you don't have to. And you don't have to put a leaf on every single little branch. And see, stamping this orange on top of the red, you can't really see it, so that probably wasn't the best choice. But I don't want to stamp yellow over the top of the orange to try and fix it, because then I'll mess up my yellow. And this should be done very neatly. This is the last step to this assignment, so we want to make it look nice. You don't want to just make it look like smudges of paint. You want to see the ellipse or leaf shape when you stamp. So you can see that I have this red and green close together, but they're not touching. And I have this yellow and green close together, but they're not touching. So that all of my colors still stayed the color, that they didn't mix on the tray. You're not going to get more paint if you mix the colors, and you're going to upset the people at your table if you mess the colors up. So be thoughtful when you stamp that you don't stamp touching another wet color. And then here you have your finished response to nature piece. And we've created a natural environment of some birch trees,